Well, what fantastic scenes we have here in Ruhpolding for the second night of action in this, the fifth round of the Biathlon World Cup for 2013. The men's relay on the card tonight after the women's relay last night. Just one event a day for the first four, and then the mass starts on Sunday. It's a good programme, Mike. They're trying to eke it out. They want these... They want these 30,000, 40,000 fans to hang around the Ruhpolding town as long as possible, and it's sort of bonus time for the shop owners around here.
I think it is, and when you think of the numbers that are willing to pour into this stadium, I think you just get a feeling that there should be 2 World Cups in Ruhpolding and 2 in Oberhof, because it really does set the atmosphere, and even for the athletes racing around, it's a wonderful feeling, the noise from the spectators.
Well, 4 men in each team, as always. There's Emil Hegle Svensson of Norway, who will be racing tonight. The Norwegians are wearing bib number 1. They're the favourites. They've won here more than anyone else over the last decade. And the reason being for that is that the course here, as we discussed last night, is the easiest biathlon range on the circuit, and therefore it makes the ski speed of your team that much more important. And Norway put the 4 skiers together, have nearly always had the fastest time.
I think they can't afford to miss more than, say, what, 8 targets, maybe even 9. That's just hand-feeding the spare rounds, losing somewhat 80 seconds is the most they can lose, I think, to take this victory.
Well, they've won here and incurred penalty loops. That's happened a couple of occasions in the last 5 or 6 times. Conditions here today similar to last night. I don't think we're going to see too many problems. There's Jakub Fak of Slovenia. The Slovenians in good spirits. 2 of their team with birthdays in the last, in fact, one of them yesterday and one tomorrow. So they've had a joint celebration, and hoping today that they can just put the icing on the cake that the IBU presented them. Well, it's certainly not the conditions we saw in Oberhof last week. There has been a bit of rain, and we've got plenty of Russians, lots of Norwegians in the crowd as well, but dominated by the home nation, Germany. Well, the atmosphere building, as always in Ruhpolding. Just another 3 minutes or so before the race starts. There you see the conditions. It was +2 yesterday, just a fraction colder today. The track's not in bad condition considering it's above 0. And what about the wind, Mike? What do you make of that?
Well, certainly the flags have been very steady, just fluttering gently, maybe a little more than last night, as we saw in the women's race, which I don't think we see much better than last night, so slightly flickering tonight.
Well, the first leg runners are down in the stadium, just preparing for the onslaught.
Grice, a spectator now.
Yeah, almost faded into insignificance, but what a career Mickey Grice had. Slightly surprised by his retirement early season, Mike. I think he's trying to go incognito today. I don't think he wants to see too many people, very much in contrast to Magdalena Neuner, who's also in the stadium, and plenty of ex-biathletes, most of them of course who live down here. If they didn't come from Oberhof, they lived and trained here in Ruhpolding, and a great summer venue for training. I know the British team have used it for many years, done much of their training down here.
Yes, they have it. I mean, it's one of the best venues, and in the summer, all under the snow, it's the tracks for roller skiing. You can't find a better place to train, and certainly in most of Europe.
Well, we've got a massive field tonight, 26 teams in all, so 104 biathletes will be competing today. Let's run through them. Norway, Russia, Germany are the 3 top-ranked teams. The Germans haven't won here since 2006. Norway, as I mentioned, have been the dominant team. They've won every single time except for 2010 when Russia won. I don't think, actually, there was a relay here last year in the World Cup programme. Great Britain going off number 21, and then behind them, Japan, Romania, Canada, Lithuania and China. China competing in the relay for the first time this year. Well, the big boys are on the front row, and starting from this end, Slovakia with Pavel Hurjat is there wearing 9 in the bright yellow suit. Sweden with Carl-Johan Bergman takes the first leg, and Bjorn Ferry back in the team, having had a week off last week. So what can the Swedes do? Austria with Simon Eder going first in lane 7. The Czech Republic have got Schlesinger on the first leg. Semenov goes for Ukraine. The French might have both Fourcades running for the first time this year. Could be a dangerous team and could certainly topple the top 3, Germany, Russia and Norway. And don't forget team number 10, USA. They looked so much better in Oberhof last weekend.
Well, Carl-Johan Bergman, it didn't go that well at the World Championships in the relay for him, but it went great in his individual races. But I think Sweden have a good chance today to put it right from the World Championships.
Well, the world champions, of course, Norway. France were in second position. The Czech Republic, we're looking at now, finished down in 9th position, having incurred 3 penalty loops. The conditions were difficult, to be honest, but 3 penalty loops were still too many. Ukraine, they've showed huge potential in the women's. Will they do the same in the men's today? The countdown is on.
Sorry, the regie. Best with the regie abklären.
I am the regie. Here.
Sorry.
I think that was Volkov. He's slightly far forward, and they're putting him back on the far left, the Russian.
Well,
tense moments. Look at the
nothing
athletes.
like,
They thought they were going to be. The gun was going to be fired. That is such a lot of tension through the body.
Well, the Norwegians hoping for more success, of course, after last night. They'll be in very good spirits. And you have to say, Mike, it's impressive that they travel so far to come and watch these races. I know there are a few British fans in the crowd tonight. So away to go cleanly. No full starts as far as I could see. Simon Eder very sharp off the mark, getting a metre or 2 over the rest of the teams, and he's going to get himself in a nice position. Austria in the red and white, slightly on the right-hand side of your screen. The French, you'll know, right in the middle, and a good, well-paced start from Simon Fourcade. Not using too much energy, but keeping an eye on everyone else around him.
And have a look at the back. This is one of the stadiums which is quite tight. You see there's just no way through, especially up this little climb. It doesn't look that steep, but actually on it, it is steep, and it's very difficult to get round. Kevin Kane has had a good start, as he did last weekend in Oberhof, but it's a bit of a roadblock now.
Yeah, there's no point, if you're at the back of the field, there's no point rushing into that first corner, Mike, because all you do is stop and wait. You might as well take it easy and get into your rhythm slowly. The big teams, on the other hand, certainly worth putting in a little sprint to get a good position. Well, you can see the marks that all the athletes have left in their warm-up. And it's already done a certain amount of damage to the tracks. It's going to be hard work for the 4th leg runner. You wouldn't want to be there. Some of the riders there, Simon Eder ahead of Simon Fourcade. For Norway, we've got Lars Hegler Birkeland, and I guess the biggest news in the Norwegian team, Mike, is that Oliana Bjorndal's been left out.
Yeah, it's quite strange. The Norwegian team each relay seem to be having a little play around with who's going to be the best of the world champs. Last week, Bjørntegard was in as well, and Bjørndalen. They're both out this week. And it's Birkeland, having been sent back to the IBU Cup race, he's been brought back in with a good 4th performance up there in the individual. So he's shooting well, hasn't quite got the ski speed to match Svensson and probably Terje Bo today.
Well, it's always a difficult call, the relay, Mike, bearing in mind the conditions here tonight and, of course, the fact that Norway have some very quick skiers. We're seeing the Ukrainians getting in a spot of bother there. Sergei Semenov just doing not quite a 360, but he spun himself in and out of trouble and hasn't really lost too many places. Your money, Mike, tonight, are you going with the Norwegians or are you going somewhere else?
It's a real difficult one to select correct. The Russian shooting is always impressive. It was yesterday in the women's race. I have a feeling about Sweden today, but I did say they did terribly badly at the World Championships, 16th position, and their first leg athlete, Ted Armgren, he did 3 penalty loops. That really cost them the medals there, but I just feel good about them today. But I think there's 5 teams that could win today, including Austria, even the Czech Republic. They've got a good team now with Sukuk coming back after his terrible injury.
Birkeland getting into similar trouble that we saw with Semenov. When they're skiing in such close quarters, it's always a problem. The tracks only have to be 9 meters wide, which is enough for 2, but once you get 3, it's a little bit tight, especially if you're not skiing in time. Team 18 looking strong. That's Rustiguyevs of Latvia, who has dropped back. The Italians, Christian Di Lorenzi, not really in any rush at the moment. He's sitting in the middle of the pack. And number 14, that's Bulgaria, right at the back, having started on the middle row. So I'm not quite sure what went wrong there.
Certainly in a hurry now. And the Latvian team are leading it now. They didn't take part last weekend in Oberhof. I take that back. It was Rustiguyevs who's leading now. He didn't take part in the relay as part of the quartet. The pace, he certainly picked up the pace at the front. It's on full tilt now.
Well, that's not a bad ploy from Rustiguyevs, just to unsettle the big names who are trying to control things. But once you get out front, they're almost obliged to chase you down. They won't want anyone to get more than 20, 30 meters clear at this stage of the race. But remember, they go into the lane that corresponds with their bib number. So Rustiguyevs is going to settle pretty early. And even at this early stage, it might be fair to say that he's going to be the first one to get the targets down.
He's having an amazing season. His ski speed is up there in each of his races. Pre-Christmas, he was like top 5. I think top 8 was his worst ski speed, but his shooting not so strong.
Well, this is where the recovery starts, and this first corner could be quite interesting. 1 or 2 of the ladies having problems last night, but most of the problems came later on in the race, once the ruts had started to develop. So Rustiguyevs round safely, so is Simon Foucault.